sit. You walk him up to the mat, you have him sit. He's going to be on your left. Make sure you're not restraining him. His leash is loose. With your right hand, pat his chest, and you say, go to your mat. You walk over with him, you say, down. He's going to go down anyway because automatically that's what he does on this mat. It's the only thing he's ever done on his training mat. That's why the training mat is so powerful, because he's automatically triggered to do just that one thing when you send him to the mat. Not a doggy bed. Your doggy bed is not for training. That's a free time place. You can come and go as he pleases. This mat, you only do this one thing. You only handle him exactly the way I'm handling him on the mat, just like I did. He had waited for permission. He's on a leash. He went on his mat. This is a way to develop his focus, and I've worked up to doing it for 5 minutes a day. No. Make sure that he waits. No. You might have to do this a few times. No. Good. So you might have to do that go through that little process where he waits respectfully until you place the reward there on the mat in front of him, and then he waits until you withdraw to take it from off the mat. It's a very important part of this because every aspect of this exercise is about developing a higher level of calmness in him. And you see, just for the warm-up, no. Good. I was walking around practicing a basic downstay. The reason he's so good in public doing this is because we practiced this for a few weeks in a couple different spots on my property in the house out here until he was really good, and then I could start having him do downstays anywhere because I practiced on the mat. So you should always use the mat. Try to do 5 minutes a day. I'm going to do a couple other things here. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to step out here. If you're ever going to do something that you're testing him out, you want to push the envelope a little bit, and which you should do. You should keep on trying new things. Once he's perfect at things you're doing, you need to always be like trying something that's a little bit more difficult for him, because if you don't, he will just he'll get stale if you never practice anything that's hard for him. So let's say this is hard for him, and you know that this would be difficult. The way that you're going to do this is say down, remind him what to keep doing, because we haven't done this before. So I left the yard, and he popped up at the last minute. So what you're going to say is no, and he even left the mat, and he ran towards the camera person. So you stay calm. Okay. And you put him back. Don't even say DOWN again, because I already said it the first time. Yeah. So we'll try it again. This is how you get over a difficult situation. So he had a problem with me leaving the yard and going through these two gates. Down. He made the mistake. I reset him. You saw exactly how I did it. No corrections, no getting mad at him. Good. He did it properly the second time. He got rewarded for it. That's how you work through issues. So just do this exercise every day. Always start off the way I started off. Keep in mind, you're doing it exactly the way I did it. You start off with rewarding him from in front. You're always rewarding him. Good, from in front, and that's it. And then you start walking around, practicing that basic downstay where wherever you go around both sides, he just stays there, he won't pop up. And then go from there and always be trying something new. If you try something that's way too hard for him to handle, maybe you need to back off a little bit and try something that's still where he made a mistake, but it's easier for him to overcome, and then work your way back up to that difficult thing. So just always be pushing the envelope, and he'll keep getting better and better and calmer and calmer. This is the way you release him. He's always waiting for you to come back next to him. You say, okay. You walk him off the mat. Okay. You have him sit, and then you release him. go, like that. Always pick up the mat, because he's probably going to want to go hang out on it, because he loves doing this little game. He's going to go straight to the camera person. Come here, bud, come over here. But he can only go on this mat with your permission. He only comes off with your permission, and you have it all here. Do it exactly the way we've been doing it here. Okay, let's go. Sit. And now we're going to show you how we handle him with the crate routine. This is his routine every day. Probably goes in and out of the crate 6 times a day, at least. He sits and waits. And since he never has gone into a crate in this yard, it's always in the house, he might be a little hesitant at first, but if he's this way with you ever, you can always get him to go in by just doing the same motion but having some treats, go and tossing them in, and he'll follow them in. And if he ever was, hesitant to go in there with you at first, that's the way to handle it. Don't ever force him in. Always just send him in like that. Good boy. Because I think he's the type of dog that will probably test you when I'm not there anymore. And so you want to always want to figure out a way to outsmart him rather than forcing him to do anything, because he's already too big to do that, and you never want to do that anyway. But you see, I reached in there. Once he's in there, he'll stay in there. Good boy. And I would always do this exercise where the door's open a little bit and I stick my hand way in there. Make sure that you're not giving him treats with his head sticking out of the doorway. You want him in there. And these extra large crates are plenty big enough for him now. You might later on, because he's going to be well over 100 pounds, you might want to switch to a Great Dane crate, which is the next size up. But right now, this extra large crate is good for at least another few months for him. Because he's growing. So I took off this little training collar, hang it on the crate door. You may not do this routine, but because you may want to handle him, keep him differently, but this is what he's been doing here, so I'm going to show you. I highly recommend you do this crate routine because it will, it's part of the training. You control his access into what he perceives as his den, which is his crate. He gets fed in there. He gets all his treats, bones, and chewies in there. He thinks that's an awesome place. You are controlling his access in and out of this boundary, because boundaries are very important to dogs, as you can see with the boundary training that we do with him in the other clips, the other video clips that you're getting with this. And so if you do this, he's more likely to listen to you in other situations because you're the boss. So you don't become the boss by being stronger than him and correcting him all the time. You're the boss by just teaching him the system and figuring out ways that things that are important to him, and then you handle him in these situations, and his perception of you is of the person that's in charge, or the one that's in charge. So we don't want to have to do any rough stuff with him. So when I take him out of here, and especially if I'm going to take him out in public, I'm going to put this choke chain on. So let me show you that first. So the choke chain is only for safety. This could be really dangerous and hurt his throat because there's no safety here, and you'd just be doing this and choking him. So you never use this for training, but it does hang loose, and it is doubled up on the clip, the leash. You're going to attach the leash to the training collar and this, just in case the little training collar ever comes off on the street. You don't lose the dog. This will be hanging loose, and then if that ever comes off, then you don't lose him. So that's the only way we use these. We don't use them for training. It's just a safety. So see how I gave him a treat and drew that over his head? Nope. If he tries to come out before you release him, it's just a little no and a little, kind of like a little closing there. See how I bounced it though, like that. Now I got this, the collar, the training collar is hooked up to the leash. The leash is hooked up to this funny looking shaped little buckle there, and there's a spacer here, but you don't touch the spacer. It's just this round ring, and it's supposed to look like this, not twisted. Make sure the chain's not twisted. See? So then you just reach in, and this collar always goes up above all the other collars, so it's the collar that's the highest one up, and it's right below his ears. And then you just attach the two choke chain and prong collar are both attached to the leash. And there's this exercise that I always do to make sure that he's respectful of this boundary. Good, when he waits. And then he's waiting for you to say, okay. He comes out. And then always close this door, because he's going to want to go in and hang out in there, but he's not allowed to go in without your permission. In his mind, good things happen in there. We give him chewies and bones. Always feed him in there, so he's already going to be in this crate. Go get the bowl of food or have the food up here. Put him in, open the door, put the food in, close the door again. Remember, everything good happens in the crate. Here at my house, he's been sleeping in the crate overnight. So he's constantly in and out throughout the day with this routine. And at night, he goes out one last time before bed, sleeps all night in there. You can put blankets and whatever you want to put in there. And in the morning, you let him out first thing to go to the bathroom. So that's what we've been doing here. And this is a really important piece of the puzzle when it comes to doing this whole system here, this routine we're doing. So I would highly recommend that you continue to use it this way. And of course, the crate is in our house. It's been inside the house, because most dogs are inside dogs, so just keep that in mind. If you can do that, that would be ideal. Okay.